Okay, hi everyone. New Year painting update. I was trying to get a lot more done over my Christmas break, but best laid plans and all that. Although Santa was pretty generous to me this year. I got a bunch of stuff from Coruscant. And I did manage to finish another unit of Crimean Tatars. These are the ones from 19th Century Miniatures, which is the Old Glory range, I believe, or Blue Moon. Anyway, it's on 19th Century Miniatures. I forgot that I thought these were from Coruscant for a while, but they are from them. I finished one kind of batch of the horse archers, and then the pack came with some mounted on, also mounted, but with spears. Maybe, hopefully I can get that to focus a little bit better. Anyway, yeah, but another group mounted with spears. I'm still debating whether I want to put some like Agrax Earthshade on these just to give them a little bit more definition. I've kind of kept it off, but maybe one day I'll just go in and kind of touch them up a little bit. But I think they look fine for now. I'm trying to sort of paint more in bulk. And I did get a lot of stuff for the Timurids and for the Ottomans, all from Coruscant. So, and some of the figures I got are from the newer Coruscant releases. So this is, they released some Serbian knights for late 14th, early beginning of the 15th century. So for doing Battle of Ankara, which is my current project between the Ottomans and the Timurids, these guys will fit right in. And I ordered them with the armored horses just because I think those look neater. I was trying to find some images of what they looked like, the Serbian knights, like any liveries. But the Serbian medieval art that you can find online is mostly, is pretty heavily like Byzantine inspired, and is stylized in that way. It's not exactly like a manuscript illustration where there's like a bit more realism, but I saw a lot of like reds, so I might just do reds and white. Red and white is like the ancient Serbian coat of arms, I think. So I think I'll stick with that. See if I can get this to focus, maybe not. There we go. Nice figures, like typical Coruscant. The sculpting is very crisp, no problems there. And the only issue I did have was it is a little tricky to get the rider to fit, because the back of the horse is really skinny, where the rider's supposed to slot in, so you will need like some gel glue for that. And then the other newer release from Coruscant, so they put out more additions to the Timurid range. These are Persian-style cavalry, so the armor is more kind of similar to what you would see like from a Seljuk or that kind of troop, with the mail with some banding versus the actual Timurid heavy cavalry, which I did get more of, or I had more of already, but with the the lamellar type armor, which you can see here, and or like this kind of like plate cuirass. So these are nice looking. I would say you could probably even use these maybe for like Seljuks or something like that. Although I think Coruscant does make Seljuks if you want 15s, and the Blue Moon 15 millimeter Crusades range also has some nice looking guys you could use as Seljuk Turks. But you know, these are nice looking. I'm happy that they added this to the range. There's a few kind of variations, different helms and stuff like that. So yeah, I like these a lot. You know, I think for early Ottomans, I might even use these as Spahi, like maybe Eastern Anatolian Spahi, something like that. But yeah, but for the Timurids, they'll be a nice addition. I also got myself an Ottoman siege gun. I needed a couple of these to kind of fill out the Ottoman artillery in my collection. So and that's the crew. It's all Khorasan here. And then I got some of the Azabs, so the poor Ottoman foot soldiers, you know, the kind of the cannon fodder, unfortunately for them. But yeah, so I have a batch of them to put for, especially for earlier Ottoman battles, because that was I got the archers, and then getting some of these guys is helpful for like the earlier battles, because a lot of my Ottoman collection is more for like the later 16th century when they had more handgunners, you know, musketeers. I do have more of the Tatars from Khorasan. So this is from I think these are from the late 14th century range. I can't remember, but these are like just some more Tatars. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you know, you can never have too many for a collection like this. I got more of the archers, and Timurid archers. I've had some of these. They're just, I just got them ready to paint. I brought them with me on my visit home. But then these are some of the Timurid foot soldiers with spears. I think they look pretty good. A little bit of flash, but you know, nicely sculpted, and they're have some nice detail, but not too crazy. You know, I think Khorasan is good at kind of striking a balance between, you know, the level of detail and the scale for, you know, 15 millimeter type figures. So, you know, the spears bend, but that's, you know, that's happens. And the only other thing I got was one of the Ottoman tents. So they look really good. Yeah, nice little tent for, sorry, I was interrupted by the dog. But anyway, nice little tent for the Ottomans. Probably use these for like Safavids too. And even the Poles, because the Polish nobility liked to go buy Turkish tents in the early modern period. So you could use them for that, because there's a lot of Turkish Ottoman tents in Poland today. They had an exhibit I was able to see in the Palace Museum in Krakow a couple of years ago. That was really awesome. So so that's what I've got in terms of what's on the kind of docket. Just going to keep working on Battle of Ankara, I think, for the next several months. And you know, I did make a video about wanting to do Mexican War. I do want to try that, but it's just, you know, a matter of kind of prioritizing what I've got, and I have quite a lot here that I need to finish. I also have a bunch of stuff from package. A friend of the channel, Jeffrey, sent me like last year with a bunch of Ottoman musketeers and light cavalry that I want to get those done too, because for Ankara, probably not the musketeers, but I can definitely use the light cavalry. You know, you can never go wrong in an Ottoman army with more light cavalry. And then I think I'll be happy with my artillery battery for the Ottomans once I get both of these big guns painted, and then I've got 3 medium guns. I think two are actually Ottoman, and one is pretty generic enough. I think it's for Poles or Cossacks, but I could use those, because the crewmen aren't terribly detailed. So that's what I have going on. I was thinking about making like another historical video about like why were the Ottomans so effective, in the 16th century, something like that. I'm sure there's probably videos like that out there. But I would have my own kind of take on it, of course. Yeah, and I would like to, if you guys have suggestions for a battle that I could war game on the channel that you'd like to see, feel free to write in the comments. Someone did recommend the Battle of St. Gotthard in this mid-17th century. I would like to do that because it is a really interesting campaign with Montecuccoli, and it's a pretty serious defeat for the Ottomans at that point. But I don't have the kind of appropriate Austrian, Habsburg figures. That is one I could work in, a lot of my Hungarian and Transylvanians, and even some of the Polish infantry, since they look, more or less the same, Hungarian and Polish infantry, that is, in the 17th century. But I don't have the right appropriate Habsburg figures at this point, but I think that would be more maybe in the next couple of years if I want to try that, because it would be good to have an army for the Siege of Vienna period. The only thing is I don't really know a lot about that era, either from the Ottoman or the Austrian side in terms of like military organization and stuff like that. There is a book, Austria's Wars of Emergence, that does deal with that, but I'm not sure, I haven't read that yet, so I'd like to read that before I try that project, and maybe try to find, if there's like some costume books from the Austrian side from that period, just so I can kind of get the lay of the land, but that's probably down the road. Now with the new fortress, with the fortress terrain I have, I could actually do Rhodes, the Siege of Rhodes with Suleiman, and since I do the fabric for water and some boats, I could represent that. So that could be interesting, to do Rhodes, and I have the foot knights. They're for Malta, but they would fit, I think, with full plate and stuff like that. And I have handgunners and all that stuff. So I could do Rhodes, because I have studied that battle, that siege, in pretty great detail from Ottoman sources. So I have a good handle on that. So I might try to write up a scenario for that, and then do something with the Siege of Rhodes, because that's a pretty iconic battle. One of the pretty bad defeats for the knights, who they put up a pretty tough fight, but they were kind of ground down in the end. And the Ottomans were shrewd at planning that operation while both Charles V leading the Spanish and the French under, I believe it was Francis II by then, or maybe, anyway, at any rate, the Valois, King of France at that time, was, they were fighting in Italy, so they were pretty clever to do that, so that could be fun, and that would have, the siege mining and the problems with the leadership, because there was the same viziers that were at Belgrade. So if you've watched my Belgrade videos, it's the Piri Mehmed Pasha, the Grand Vizier, and then Ahmed Pasha, who later becomes known as Hain Ahmed Pasha, the traitor Ahmed Pasha. They were feuding at Rhodes too. So I may do that next, because that could be an interesting kind of trilogy, because we'd have kind of the three first campaigns of Suleiman, of Belgrade, and then doing Rhodes, and then doing potentially down the road doing Mohács. Now the thing is, Rhodes is kind of pretty self-contained as a siege, and my collection now is fine to do that. Mohács would require like a more, I need to build a more period appropriate Hungarian army for that, which the figures are out there. It's just kind of taking what I have and then adding the elements I need. I do need to get some more early 16th century, like Italian Wars era gendarme type knights for some of the Hungarians, and then paint up more of the sort of light cavalry that they were using. But that could be interesting. And another thing with some of these campaigns is the European sources do tend to really inflate the Ottoman numbers by like many factors, probably for dramatic effect. But I saw an interesting kind of some notes about, like, at the Siege of Vienna, the Europeans say, oh, the Ottoman army was like 100,000 troops, and probably it was more like half that, maybe even less. And I think, Mohács, they probably did outnumber the Hungarians just because Hungary had just a much less dense population compared to like the Ottoman Balkans or like Anatolia even. But, it probably wasn't as drastic. I'll need to research that. There's a recent volume that came out because we're in 2026. So we are coming up on the anniversary of Mohács, and it would be, I need to check a volume that was published ahead of that edited by a scholar named Norbert Popp, who's a Hungarian historian, with a bunch of chapters in it about the campaign and stuff like that, and kind of new research, because they've been doing a lot of archaeology in Hungary about Mohács and stuff like that. So there's been some new findings with that, but I haven't looked at that book lately. So yeah, I think that's what I've got planned. I'm going to keep doing my Ankara project, but I think in terms of a new campaign I could war game on the channel would be to do the Siege of Rhodes, because that has some different decision points in it, where they land like an advance party at first, and then the rest of the army is ferried over to the island, and that would be potentially interesting. So, and that would also give like the Ottoman player, having to roll for reserves to come on, because they can't necessarily bring everybody over at once, and you're again waiting on the Sultanic army, the main army under Suleiman, ostensibly under Suleiman, to arrive. So that's the video. Hope you found this interesting. If you like it, you can leave a donation on the Buy Me a Coffee. I always appreciate that. I had some Christmas donations, so I really appreciate that. Because I do study Ottoman warfare for my doctoral work, so a lot of what I do for my real work is, I bring it onto the channel. So if you find it interesting, and I will talk to you in the next video. Have a nice day or evening, and I hope enjoy your comments. Thank you.